a non-modern approach towards redeciphering the rural fabric of South Khorasan, Iran.
Presently, there is a state of crisis that exists not only within the urban framework of globalized cities, but also one that is seen within that of the existing rural fabric worldwide as well. While the former receives all the attention, the latter lies neglected. A cluster of villages situated in the South Khorasan province of Iran offers the possibility to metamorphose the way in which we interpret the rural landscape into something that responds not only to the people, but also is a vocalization of its demography and geographical settings. Mountainous terrains, changing climate, migration, and a persistent decade-old drought are just a few of the challenges that these cluster of villages face. To objectively acknowledge this ever-pervasive state of crisis is the first step, and the second, while subjective, becomes a personal narrative into a journey of rediscovery of interpreting so-called non-modern design interventions into the rural fabric, which are inherently participatory in nature. A lack of attention, consideration, and solidarity has led to the continuous disintegration of the rural fabric, resulting in interventions such as this within it that are more than often superficial and unfortunately one-dimensional. What seemingly works in an urban scenario cannot be superimposed onto the rural landscape without thought and understanding. The nebulous forms in which this crisis exhibits itself then ranges from poverty, unemployment, lack of housing, and so on, which is critically related to that of the disintegration of the urban fabric, or paradoxically, the absence of one. Initially, the journey began as a collective group of master students coming from diverse backgrounds trying to understand the state of crises that existed in different regions of the world. With the European Spatial Agency database website becoming an integral part of this discussion, it offered us an alternative approach which shifted focus from the architect's traditional role in designing spaces towards a more expansive field of opportunities in which architects and non-architects not only could operate, but could also successfully collaborate. Works of Francis Carey, Hassan Fateh, and Nasir Khalili from the ESA database were what struck a personal chord with me, as they were true testaments of architecture as a socially transformative process, which were participative from initiation to execution in their assimilation with the rural fabric. Ideas of adaptive construction techniques weaved together with holistic vernacular architecture within a region-specific approach was a common theme shared amongst them. With subsequent discussions and debates within the group, a trio of crisis sites in China, Belgium, and Iran, respectively, was selected from which each of our individual journeys commenced. Iran, specifically the South Khorasan region, became the canvas of my explorations into the urban fabric of this crisis affected region. Stephen Moore's approach of regenerative regionalism offers an alternative way, one that is so-called non-modern, but at the same time focuses the spotlight on important elements such as place, region, society, and technology. This, with ideas of inclusive participatory processes, allows for an approach that reinterprets the rural fabric of the five villages in question, with an intention that this intervention proposed is just a canvas, a module from where participatory processes can be initiated. The five villages. The five villages in question, Mortik, Rezek, Zekri, Golenoy, and Kalte Baluch, are located in South Khorasan, a province situated in the east of Iran, close to the Afghanistan border. Low relative humidity is a common feature of this arid desert region, with temperatures ranging from minus 13.57 to 46.83 degrees, accompanied by a dry and hot summer. The five villages, which are in relative proximity to each other, are far away from cities or urban centers like Tabas, Messina, and Salbishe. Added to the distance is the mountainous desert terrain, which is difficult to navigate, making traveling arduous and hence resulting in severe limitations with their connections to the outside world. The rapidly collapsing agrarian-based economy of these villages has not helped the situation. This has in effect led to mass migration with people heading to already saturated cities and urban centers in search of employment, jobs, and better living conditions. What remains now is only a fraction of the previous population, which amounts to 100 families, more or less. With men being unemployed or absent, women, children, and the elderly make up most of this remaining demography. Ignored by the government, the five villages lack basic facilities like adequate street lighting, sanitary facilities, and other such infrastructure such as housing and so on. Iranian settlements tend to exhibit more of a geometrical and orthogonal patterns rather than an irregular and organic pattern forming the urban structure, in turn integrated with the irrigation network, and related agricultural activities. Another important characteristic of the Iranian settlements is that of the mass and the void, which are the two main elements that form the spatial structures of historic Iranian fabric. So all the living dwellings, what happens is that get organized around these mass and void, and according to which are used in the summer and the winter. Villages, Raze, Morting, and to some extent Kalte Baluch exist these urbanistic patterns. These villages have their urban spatial structure more organized around providing accessibility to agricultural activities and the irrigation infrastructure, while at the same time trying to adapt to the mountainous region. This shows to an extent that this region and its topographical and geographical features play an important role in organizing the spatial fabric of the Iranian settlements. Settlements Golenoy and Zekri, being relatively new, do not have any such agricultural land, and hence the rural patterns emerge more around the land network and infrastructure connections. Although considered generic in the modern sense, elements of traditional architecture combine with each other in different ways, forming uniquely repetitive patterns hidden in the landscape. Walls, domes, portals, arches, bases, alcoves, and the resultant forms becomes the motifs of vernacular architecture, whose modular repetitions create visual symphonies of dynamics, harmony, and movement. The villages show that almost no house front exists in isolation, but instead form an integral part of the collective urban whole. The use of curved roof is a common theme in the architecture of the region, as it allows for better cooling and ventilation. When it comes to material, the availability of mud makes it the preferred material for vernacular construction, and also due to its resistance against solar radiations. Village life. The essence of the life that inhabits and survives in this rural fabric was captured by Iranian photographer Shaghi al-Masimid, who traveled through the villages and provided valuable insights as well as snapshots into how the people live. Cultural and traditional beliefs are strongly reflected in the way the men and women dress. Traditional living spaces now have modern appliances like fridge, TV, washing machine, and so on, which indicate how modernity has crept into the lives of these inhabitants, even in the remotest of corners. The slow transformation of the patriarchal social and economic order can be observed as with the men being absent or unemployed, the women becoming the matriarchal leaders of the house and the sole breadwinners in the household. However, the cultural autonomy and environmental and contextual sensitivity that earlier prevailed in the urban fabric of these villages is slowly disappearing, and instead, a global, homogenetically divided context architecture is taking its place. A sense of isolation can now be felt within the community, one where access to education and employment seem hard to come by. With agricultural activity slowly disappearing due to the ongoing drought, the people seem uncertain on how to face the future. Map Unmap. The region of South Khorasan, which is known for carpet making, is an art practiced by the women in these villages as means to earn their livelihood. Aside from the monetary benefits, it is also a physical manifestation of their cognitive creativity abilities and a proof their resiliency to survive in a harsh environment. However, lack of proper space or environment to work hampers these women to a great deal. The carpet can then become a medium which can not only act as a result of the built space, but then become an integral part of forming it. This, in a way, involves the inhabitants in defining and designing their own built environment, which need not be limited to just a working space, but can be transformed into different typologies as per the need of the village. Before any intervention can be thought about, an attempt here is undertaken to decipher the rural landscape and reveal the essence of its urban fabric in an architectural language. The intention is that these drawings reveal not only what exists on site, but also what possibilities might arise when viewed from the eyes of the spectator. An important element that stands out in the preceding interweaving landscapes that is created between the regional architecture and the geography are the overhang electrical lines. This shows that technology and its advancements have also penetrated the semi-isolated rural fabric to quite an extent. The five villages share similar traits in terms of terrain, urbanistic patterns of evolution, the very visible electric network, and regional vernacular architecture. This becomes a basis to propose a regenerative framework that can either function independently by adapting to the context or form an interconnected network with the rest of the villages. With Nader Khalili's brainchild, the super-urban construction, becomes the basis for the proposal ahead, as it can be done in the absence of skilled labor with a bit of training. The advantage of this construction method is that it is not only built entirely from locally available, environmentally friendly material, but also allows for a flexible and more spatial layout. With the help of super adobe construction, in combination with vernacular construction techniques and materials indigenous to the region, it is possible to generate spaces that can be modular enough to adapt to the requirements of the people. While the initial idea was to propose a working space where women could practice their weaving and carpet making activities, it became imperative that the intervention should also be able to meet the other needs of the people. Hence, what arose from this was a process where an existing structure, a small covered play space lying desolate in the middle of the rural landscape, became the progenitor to evolving and interweaving a work, learn, live space around it. Ideas of accessibility, covered spaces, and transitory journeys are explored in the proposed framework. Due to the prohibitive cost of mechanical cooling, the entire design reverts to vernacular methods of providing natural cross ventilation. For this reason, a combination of barrel vault and dome construction is proposed. A wind catcher with an inner water cooling plate is provided on either side of the central space to allow for cooling and cross ventilation during summers. While the proposal gives priority for spaces to women to carry out their weaving activities, it can also be further adapted as primary education or a cooperative vocational housing facility. Each of the spaces proposed is further divided into sections, which in turn creates a rhythmically derived approach as the eye moves from the exterior and towards the interior. While entrances are provided from two sides, the central play space or courtyard acts as a temperature regulator for the surrounding spaces. These courtyards can further be customized into sitting areas during cooler parts of the day by using reed mats and carpets. These courtyards then further acts as social gathering spaces for the women. The proposal maintains a utilitarian expression in its aestheticism. This allows for it to be modified by its inhabitants and hence personalize their living environment. The sections allow the user to portray multiple views of figures and landscapes simultaneously. The proposal weaves itself into the surrounding context and becomes a part of the rural fabric, resulting in a spectral translation of the proposal and its surroundings. The drawings acts as a human scale intermediary in allowing for a mix of gradual and dramatic changes in scale from one part to another. The modularity of the sections indicate that it can be adaptable to different levels and hence different degrees of activity spaces can exist within. Conclusion. There are more ways than one to intervene in the urban fabric of these villages. This narrative is cognizant of that fact. The visually narrative and subjectively interpretive drawings shown here are a means to reintroduce the notion that architecture can become once again a source of vitality and resiliency in the region. Traditional architecture and indigenous historic forms thus becomes the basis on which modern design techniques and processes can be implemented in the design of the built environment in the rural fabric. In this way, technology in its true sense gets utilized for the people. At the same time, this narrative becomes an interpretive solution to mend the ever-growing tears in the rural fabric, and hence does this by respecting the cultural and regional context it is settled in. To conclude, while the situation is dire, there is still hope. The modern approach undertaken here looks at the past for inspiration, utilizes the energy of the present, while expectantly anticipating the future. Thank you.